Good evening, everybody. This is Beyond the Buzzer for what's today? January
14th. Yes,
January
check the
14th,
corner of your screen. It's right there, bud.
2021. I'm your host, Danny Thompson. Checking with you live here on Zingo TV, I-95, Facebook Live, and anywhere you hear the sound of my voice. And once again, this is the best hour you're going to find twice a week anywhere on sports television. If you have any reason why, let me know why. Also, I can't do the show every week without my tag team partner. Yes, my WWE Hall of Fame partner. He is, I think, the best Nash in professional wrestling history. That do mean over Kevin Nash as well, too. My right-hand man, my main man, the guy's got his own jersey, his own house. The student of the game himself, three-point conversions own, Mr. Kyle Nash. How you doing, my friend?
Listen, partner, maybe I'm not the best Nash in wrestling, but I am a big show, and I'm definitely big sexy.
Listen, because of the fact you can do that to yourself, you automatically are better than Kevin Nash. Big shout out to my man Tyree. Always
What up,
check out Say What Say Again Sports, always on Facebook. Listen, the most entertaining group of guys, with the exception of Avery Grays, I know, on Facebook Live. Check the show out on Facebook Live. And Ty, if you're in the chat, put the days of the show on there and let people know it comes on.
Absolutely.
Also, a big shout out to our good friends at Valor, which is itsvalor.us for all things marketing, gifts, everything else in between. And they also know a little bit about music and commercials. Big shout out to our good friends at Mentality Barbershop, 2611 North Pine Hills Road in Orlando, Florida. Best haircut place in Orlando. Not because I said it. Go check it out for yourself. Now, also big shout out to our super producer up in New Jersey, my main man, Mr. Bobby Blackjack. How you doing, my friend?
It said he was available audio only. Listen, he's doing things, man.
You cue him up on time. He performed like the Pittsburgh Steelers. You give him the ball, we snapped over his head. Oh. All right. Well, guess what, Kyle? It's been a week. You know, the NFL normally playoffs. What's up, Cortland? Big ups to everything else. But when you look at the NFL, Kyle, we've talked about NFL so much. But now we go back to what's going on in the world of professional basketball.
Yes.
Well, I mean, we can talk about what COVID is doing to the NBA because right now COVID is undefeated this season. COVID's been taking out more games than a hurricane. Like I said, you see the bottom of the screen. Check out Say What Again Sports 2:30 at 8:30 on Tuesday nights. They're not interfering with us, so when you're not watching us, go watch them. And yes, Avery Graves is just about as bad of a co-host as he is a fantasy football team owner. Is
it like Charles Barkley TRBL Turbo?
No, he's like Charles Barkley's golf swing.
Oh. Why?
Avery's my guy.
Don't put that evil on me.
Let me stop. Avery's my guy. I love Avery. That's my dude. Big shout out to Avery Graves as well too. But check those guys out on Tuesday night.
Hi, Precious.
I mean, of course, in the chat, Precious always saying hello to Kyle and saying hello to Bobby.
Listen, after talking about being big sexy, of course I got a hello. What's up?
Exactly. Also at the same time, so you know what? Let's talk NBA. And with the NBA side of things, listen. I hate to say this, but this is the team that's taken all of the news headlines in the last 24 hours, and that's the Brooklyn Nets.
Not just the news, Danny. News, social media, freaking comedy shows are in on it. That's how you know it's a big deal, partner.
It's already enough that Kyrie Irving has not been back with the team literally in about – he's missed 5 games. It's to the point now the NBA has taken over the investigation for the entire incident involving him being at his sister's birthday party in West Orange, New Jersey. No, he was not in Toronto. Even though Drake was in the building, he was not in Toronto. He was outside in West Orange, New Jersey for his sister's 30th birthday party. The video got around that he was out not wearing a mask in a club that seemed like it was more than the 15 people you're allowed to have in the NBA as well, too.
Was he at least getting chicken wings? We got to know.
No, but he was at a birthday party, so I'm assuming they might have had some decent food since they cleared the whole building out for his sister.
Fair enough.
All right. Also, at the same time, his dad's birthday was going on that Monday, so it was a birthday celebration. The problem was he was away from the team due to personal matters, and that's what everybody's in the news about for it. Kevin Durant's finally healthy. That's a great thing. Well, the Brooklyn Nets did so you know what? Let's go back to this. Let's rewind before we talk about Brooklyn side of things. Let's talk about the Houston Rockets. The Rockets went into the week with James Harden already disgruntled. He's been disgruntled since day one. And I'm sorry, one thing James Harden, me and him have in common, besides the fact that we both have beards, is we both have guts. James Harden has shown up to the league this season with the guts, still scoring almost 30 points a game. After the Los Angeles Lakers basically destroyed them in 2 games, Kyle, Harden went out and said, this team is not good enough. angering John Wall and DeMarcus Cousins. Now, for those who've never seen DeMarcus Cousins, being in the back room with him is a very scary proposition. That's a big human being. Okay.
Yes.
Now, when you have DeMarcus Cousins and John Wall not very happy with one another, with James Harden, and basically insulting the rest of the team, saying they're not good enough, only 9 games into the season, you already know it's going to be issues. Well, Tillman Furtado and company were just tired of it. Kyle, so trade rumors happened, and then Harden was kept away from the team. Harden didn't show up to practice by 12:30, was traded by midday. The wheels on this bus went round and round, quick and quick.
No, the tires on this bus went.
Yes, and James Harden was basically jettisoned out of camp. So it was down to the Philadelphia 76ers and the Brooklyn Nets. Well, the Portland Trail Blazers were actually a preferred destination for James Harden as well, too, per Chris Haynes of Yahoo. Big shots to Chris Haynes. Okay, there was no way he was going to Portland. And besides, Damian Lillard and James Harden would have killed each other. Lillard's not going for that foolishness, okay? I'm just telling you that right now. So it came down to the Sixers not willing to trade Tyrese Maxey in a package with Ben Simmons and Maurice Thibault in a deal to get James Harden along with multiple draft picks. Well, enter the Brooklyn Nets. So, Kyle, now, as we talked about in this show many times, we both have daughters. Kyle, how is your daughter?
She is 6.
And what grade is she in?
She is in 1st grade.
My daughter's in 2nd grade.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So in this trade, Kyle, the Brooklyn Nets gave away, Kyle, 3 first-round picks and 4 pick swaps.
So
all right.
It's kind of like LeBron. Not 1, not 2, but 3.
Not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, not 6, but 7 first-round picks. The Brooklyn Nets gave up, including, and then the Rockets acquired an 8th first-round pick from Milwaukee. So, Kyle, let's put this in perspective. Your daughter is now 6. My daughter is about to turn 8 in June.
Right.
Your daughter's in 1st grade. So by the time the Brooklyn Nets can control their own first-round pick, your daughter will be in high school, and mine will be attempting to go to 10th grade at this point.
That's a while. That's a generation.
So let me explain. Right? For those who don't know how pick swaps work is, the Houston Rockets had at any point in time during those years of pick swaps, they can take the higher of the 2 picks, and it's not lottery protected. They're all unprotected. So if this thing goes foolishness real quick, or the fact that it goes bad and Brooklyn's bad, Houston owns all those first-round picks.
I mean, like, you mentioned Nash's earlier. You know the guy who I really feel sorry for? Steve Nash, for having to get thrown into this as a friggin' rookie head coach. What did this poor guy do to deserve this purgatory?
He signed up for this foolishness, okay?
I don't know if he signed up for James Harden and craziness. No, he didn't know Kyrie was a part of it, but damn.
Listen, it's not even superstar egos. You're dealing with not 1, but 2 personalities, and now with Mike D'Antoni on that sideline, and now with the fact of now the James Harden dynamic. Look at this perspective. We'll talk about Harden in a second. The Rockets, besides getting 8 first-round picks, acquired Karis LeVert and a bunch of other players. Dante Exum, Rodney Kukos, and that's a 2nd-round draft pick. They then jettisoned Karis LeVert over to Indiana. Indiana gave back Victor Oladipo, but the most important thing that Houston got in this trade, Kyle, besides all the draft picks and Victor Oladipo, who's an upcoming free agent, is the fact they got a $16 million trade exception on top of this. So now that they can go acquire a player at $16 million over, and guess what? They have 1 physical year to do it. So they don't have to wait till 2022 to make the trade. On top of that, if Oladipo opts out or they trade Oladipo, guess what? The Rockets will then have a potential max cap space next summer when the NBA salary cap should shrink. And guess what? Free agents will be out there looking for new homes.
Well, and not for nothing. I mean, it's Wall, Cousins, and now at this point, you mentioned Oladipo. That's not a terrible core. I'm not saying they're going to win the finals, but... And
Christian Wood has been averaging 22 points and 10 rebounds for the Rockets after getting that beautiful contract, is playing every minute worth it. All right. The Pacers get another huge score in Karis LeVert, who's I think is 25 years old. Mm-hmm. And we saw last year in the bubble, Kyle, what Karis LeVert was doing, carrying the Brooklyn Nets without Kevin Durant, without Kyrie Irving, without Spencer Dinwiddie. Hell, they missed half their roster, and he was carrying them in the playoffs last year, averaging almost 27 points a game in the bubble. You add him on top of Malcolm Brogdon, T.J. Warren, Domantas Sabonis, and the Pacers have now gotten better. What made even worse for Brooklyn was Brooklyn got rid of center Jarrett Allen, another 24, 25-year-old center, and sent him to Cleveland, of all places.
I have to admit, I got confused earlier today. Someone said Jarrett Allen. I'm like, yeah, I'm pretty sure he was a finalist for the Hall of Fame. Then I realized they meant the center, not the defensive end.
Well, listen, the Cleveland Cavaliers are now collecting centers and power forwards like Noah's Ark. They have two of everything at center. You have two old guys, two guys you can't trade, and now two young guys. They have another center on the roster and they acquired a second-round pick in the deal. So, Kyle, like I said, from the perspective of the Cavs, Jarrett Allen is 25. He's under contract, and he is a mobile athletic center. Andre Drummond has now hit the trade block once again. Don't expect Drummond or maybe even Kevin Love to be on this roster at the trade deadline, which is coming up pretty soon. All right, we just talked about how Indiana is. And, Kyle, Oladipo is now going to Houston, but there's also word that Oladipo doesn't want to be in Houston either. His preferred destination is Miami.
I mean, you would think they'd be able to craft something.
Well, I mean, listen, is Miami willing to give up Tyler Hero in a deal to get Victor Oladipo?
I mean, they could both be your hero, but I mean,
I don't know if Miami.
I'm not saying it'll happen, but they would need to put a little bit more funk on it for Miami to be interested. I don't know what that would be, though.
It can't be Tyler Hero. To answer your question, Cortland, the relationship between Harden and D'Antoni was okay because D'Antoni let Harden do whatever he wanted to. It was the simple fact of it was just really James Harden playing ISO ball. Obviously, I don't think that the Nets really care about the relationship. I think he'll be fine. And D'Antoni's not the head coach. He's just the assistant because, as Kyrie Irving said over the summer, there are days he's the head coach. There's days Kevin Durant's the head coach. So now I wonder the rotation, when does James Harden become a head coach?
Well, and you mentioned all that too, but again, bringing Nash back into it at the end of the day, that's just another dynamic he has to think about now, right?
It could be. It's another huge dynamic. So on the end of the, I don't know. I don't know if I'm Miami if I want to do that. The answer to the question I got asked earlier today about James Harden in Miami. If Pat Riley wanted James Harden, Pat Riley would get James Harden.
That's a good point.
Listen. Pat Riley, we all know, is the ultimate Don in the NBA. If Pat Riley wants something bad enough, he'll go get it.
He'll find a way. Absolutely.
But I don't think James Harden and Jimmy Butler would have got along very well because Jimmy Butler would have thrown him through a plate glass window the first time he took a shot. The first time James Harden took a shot with 20 seconds left on the shot clock or dribbled it down to 1 second, Jimmy Butler would have a nuclear meltdown on the court.
Fair. That's amazing. But those are both spectacular points. So no to the Heat. Got it.
So Brooklyn might have either the greatest NBA 2K team of all time with Harden, Kyrie, and Kevin Durant, and they can get to the finals, or this is going to be the most epic of meltdowns possible. And that's skinny James Harden. If you can find fat James Harden, different story.
Well, nice. Let me ask you this, because the theory I've been hearing the most, that makes the most sense, at least to me. Actually, even our good friend Bobby Blackjack brought it up in pre-production. The concept of Harden being an insurance policy for an AWOL Kyrie as far as star power. Do you buy that? I
mean, Sean Marks said it in the introductory press conference. The one thing that these three guys are going to have to do is that they're going to have to be able to defer. Because each night, because they're so talented, one guy's just going to be spectacular. Can the other two defer on the night when somebody else is hot? Can James Harden defer the nights to Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving? Or can Kyrie do it? Or KD do it? We've seen KD do it. We saw him do it in Oakland with the Warriors. There were nights where Steph Curry just went crazy. But in the games, we all know who got the ball in the game. It was Kevin Durant. Very simple. Mm-hmm. And can James Harden and Kyrie Irving defer to Kevin Durant at the end of the game is the real question. That's the question I have. If they can do this in the middle of a pandemic, offensively, Brooklyn is almost unstoppable offensively. The problem is Brooklyn has no interior at all. None. Jarrett Allen's gone. DeAndre Jordan moves like Montel Jordan. Yeah, this is how we do it, guy. He moves like him in the interior. Okay. Jeff Green's an option. You can't name Nick Claxton. They have no other bigs in this roster. The Nets went from one of the deepest and most dangerous teams in the league in preseason. Now you're looking like a very, very top-heavy roster. It's looking almost to the point where Cortland said it best right there.
I mean, he's not wrong, ladies and gentlemen.
He's not wrong, and the Nets are very top-heavy. And now your fourth. Go ahead.
Oh, to Alex's point too. I mean, that's the reason why you would need an insurance policy is because of Kyrie's past situations. But let's put it this way: it's not that James Harden isn't exactly a carcinogen in and of himself. So really, where's the insurance? That's kind of where I'm at. Like, I don't know what to make of Harden yet. At least with Kyrie, I can be given the argument that he's gone through his troubles, right? He was kind of a second banana to LeBron in Cleveland when they got the ship, right? Then he went to Boston to go and try to be the man, which did not work objectively, right?
Because of injury. I think injuries did it, but continue.
Well, and there was other stuff too. I think there was other aspects of his mind not being right in certain ways too. I mean, I don't want to get into the details of it here. Slap whatever reason on it that you want, Danny Thompson. At the end of the day, just didn't pan, right? So at day's end, I can see the argument where Kyrie may be more inclined to shape up because of experience he's had. I'm not saying that's going to happen. I'm giving you the best case scenario. With James Harden, I really don't know what we're getting because when he's been catered to, which is obviously a lot, as we've heard, things still didn't go precisely the way they needed to. Harden's performance in the playoffs was not as good as in the regular season, many would say. I'm not sure that I could argue that Harden at this point is a bigger question mark than Kyrie even.
I say it like this. Because Kyrie Irving has been an injury concern and we don't know where he's at right now in his headspace. And the NBA, like I said earlier, is now in control of what Kyrie's situation will be when he decides to return. The good thing with James Harden is that having him on that roster with Kevin Durant means Kevin Durant doesn't have to carry all the heavy lifting. Mm-hmm. When you don't have Spencer Dinwiddie on this roster because he's out for the whole season, somebody has to be able to score when Kevin can't hit shots. And what better option to have than arguably the most dangerous offensive player in the NBA? A guy that can literally, his step back alone will get you 25 points a game easily. It will James Harden. And the thing is, James Harden averages 11 assists a game. So it's not like James Harden doesn't know how to pass the basketball.
Right.
He can distribute the basketball. The question is, like I said, can James Harden on some nights he'll be the guy, but can he be okay not being that guy at the end of the game? Corley asked the question, can they guard the bigs and the wings? Probably not. The question is, can any of those teams guard those three when they're actually on?
How many teams in the NBA really concentrate on guarding bigs and wing players, honestly? I mean,
the Lakers did, and they won them a championship last year.
I mean, because they're about the only ones that can do it, right? I mean, let's be honest.
If you look at the three teams that Cortland posted on the screen, the Lakers and the Clippers. The good thing with Lakers and Clippers the Clippers side of the thing is Paul George and Kawhi Leonard can guard anybody on the court.
Sure.
So you could do that. Pat Beverly's annoying. And Pat Beverly he's the one that you put on Kyrie Irving. You put Kawhi Leonard on Kevin Durant and let them go at it. Paul George can guard James Harden. Paul George is almost 6'11". Okay. James Harden's got a hard time shooting over that. The other problem is the fact of Serge Ibaka's playing well. Can the Nets, who have no interior help, find rebounding, find interior? I was thinking that they would end up with PJ Tucker or something. They have no toughness down there. DeAndre Jordan's not the player he used to be. They're going to have to go find somebody and find somebody quick. Speaking of finding things quick, the NBA's got to quickly figure out COVID. All right. For those asking, why don't the league take 2 weeks off or some time away? It's very simple. When you let NBA players be idle, that's when things happen and things go wrong.
Correct.
We see guys go out and go partying during the week.
Chicken wings.
All right. It's not even, I mean, just in general. And these are things that don't end up on Instagram. You give guys 2 weeks away, and it was a big conversation about it a couple of days ago too, when the NBA changed the protocol rules. Now, after the protocol rules came out, I had questions on what was going on in the first place. Kyle, players were able to go out to have dinner on the road. Okay, they were not basically on lockdown. Now the NBA has put them on lockdown, and some players are happy about it. Some players are happy about it. If you ask George Hill's thoughts about it, quote unquote, he's a grown man and nobody should tell him what to do. You ask Damian Lillard, he's like, listen, whatever's got to be done is got to be done. Okay. Giving the guys 2 weeks off, Kyle, and it's not about money, because the first argument, Kyle, people ask, I was just in the barbershop today before the show, and they were saying, well, these guys get paid millions of dollars to do X, Y, and Z. That's understandable, but they're human beings like everybody else.
Correct.
I'm sorry. I mean, it doesn't matter if you make $35 or $40 million a year, or you make $10.25 an hour.
Because I hope you put it to whoever was in the barbershop. Listen, let's pretend you made $1 million a year. If I told you, hey, you got to miss Ray Ray and Nick Nick's birthday, or grandma, or somebody like that, you tell me to kiss my own ass. Forget it. You still want to go.
You can't go down the street. You can't
Correct.
go pick up your kid from school. You can't go get gas in the gas station. You are told to literally go home, go to practice, and play.
And I know that's the protocol, but the reason why I pose the question the way that I do is, if they're not willing to part with those things, how are they going to be okay not being able to do that every day? Now, I get it that they may be able to afford, how you say, a bit more comfortable domicile than us common folk. But at the end of the day, like you said, that is not fulfillment. There's a reason why there's not another bubble other than the logistical issues, Danny Thompson. It's because the players had enough of that ish. Now, that being said, my question to you isn't 2 weeks off. You keep saying the players don't want a bubble. And darn it, Danny Thompson, I believe you. You got your fingers on the pulse of the league, but pretty soon physics may compel them. What say you?
Listen, we all know the bubble's not happening. There's no way. The players feel like it was prison last time around.
I'm sure they do.
Not having your families, not having everybody else. There's only one way to solve this issue, okay? I think if you bubble the playoffs like they did last year, it could work, but it's going to have to be some concessions involved in it. NBA owners want teams, they want games and arenas, so that way they can fulfill television contracts, not just nationally, but locally. They're not having fans in stands, and I think it's a great idea to get rid of them at this point. The only way, Kyle, I think this works is there are luxury hotels in every single NBA city in the United States. There's luxury hotels. What they need to do is, if you're going to mandate the players to be at home, put them in a luxury hotel downtown with their families. Okay? You can go to the Westin, and the owners got checks. Rent out the Westin completely, or rent out a nice, expensive hotel. Have the players and their families stay there. Okay? They get everything they need from the hotels. Okay? The only people that have to get tested and moved around the clock are the people who work there. Okay? You put their families there, you put the organization there, and you keep them there. All right? If the players have their families, the kids have Wi-Fi to go to school, it's better than forcing them to stay at home, and it's not. And what we see now is not working. We have an entire team basically out the rest of the week. The Phoenix Suns are not playing. Their entire team's in protocol, and they're basically out the rest of the week. We've had 11 canceled games since Sunday.
Yeah.
And it's only getting worse.
So,
what other option we have at this point? No, what other point we have at this point? You rent out a luxury hotel, you put the players, you put the key personnel and their families, you rent the whole thing out. The owners have to cut the check if you want them to play and keep them safe. If the players have their families and they have everything they need, they don't need to leave the hotel. Okay? That's the only logical thing I can think of. Now, Kyle, I'm thinking from a different perspective. What are your thoughts?
Sure. Yeah. And a lot of what you said made a lot of sense. And the part that gets me itching over here is, if I'm an owner, which I'm obviously not, but let's say I was, and you're telling me my best option is to put my assets and their families in a hotel, that's the answer. So you're telling me the best answer from your perspective, and granted, neither of us work for the league, so we're not really logistics experts on what it takes, and maybe there's another option that you and I don't know about. Obviously, we're in this one, we're just speculating here. But if I'm an owner, what I see you're telling me is the best option is for me to put my players and their families in a place that is inundated with travelers. And what are travelers at this point?
You're renting out the whole entire hotel. There's no. The hotel is shut down completely.
Wow. So okay.
You're creating your own bubble. You're creating your own bubble at this point. We're not having anybody coming randomly in the building. It's only personnel, and the only people in and out of the building are the people who work there.
Okay, so that takes care of the other travelers part. But at the end of the day, there's still travel to make these games happen.
Well, I mean, the players only travel on buses that are the same buses they travel to hotels and the same flights they fly on a regular basis. They have a visiting team. So yeah, which is basically most teams have their own planes.
Right.
Every team has a hotel they stay at in every city, and basically the teams will will go to each hotel as protocol, like you do now. That's really the only way you're going to keep everybody in the bubble. That's it.
Well, that's the part that's tough. That's the part that's tough because there's protocol now. Well, granted, they've only really tightened it up, but it's still happening. So the question that we're right back to:
players can't leave hotels. Players can't leave hotels. Very simple. When they're on the road, they can't leave.
How is that any different from a bubble from they're trying to prevent to have happen in the first place? That's what I'm saying.
The only difference is, Kyle, I mean, you're getting the games in the regular season in different cities to keep the markets in place. Because, like I said, we all know the bubble is the best idea. And Kyle, we saw how it was outstanding job that Disney did with the NBA at the bubble.
Sure.
The problem is but Disney, as Kyle, we both know, and you know better than me, being basically a Central Floridian,
a native. Go ahead and say it. Yeah,
native. But knowing how big the Disney property is, it's not big enough to cover 30 teams. It's not big enough to cover all their families, all the organizational people that have to be there, the equipment managers, the people that don't get shown on television. There's lots of people involved in these games every single day.
Correct.
Disney's not big enough. Even with Disney's resorts, is not enough to cover the players.
And it's not like back in the playoff bubble when the park was basically closed. Granted, it's limited capacity, but it is still operating to the general public. And that in and of itself would only pose an extra threat.
And that means you have to shut down the Disney park again for literally 8 months. Again. That's the point I'm saying. Like, I don't think the players don't want to be in a bubble, but this is the closest thing you're going to get. Players get to be with their families. At least they're going to be secluded with their families and their loved ones. If you don't have a family, you only can bring in 2 people, and they're stuck with you the rest of the season. So if you're having issues with your significant other, you better figure it out before you get there. All right. I mean, there's not very many options they have at this point, because Kyle, if this doesn't work, there's new mandates and these new things don't stop the COVID rates, because there's a reason why the players wanted to go back in mid-January other than December. There's a reason why a lot of players wanted to go back on Martin Luther King weekend. There is a reason, because the holidays, they want to be with their families during the holidays.
Yep.
So the NBA's got to figure it out, because here's the thing. The NBA is, Kyle, Adam Silver pulls the doomsday number. And Kyle, you know what the doomsday number is?
I do not. Tell me.
Because there's a COVID vaccine out there. There's multiple companies with COVID vaccines. And I don't think Adam Silver wants to pull the doomsday trigger and be the ones to jump the line on COVID vaccines with the country needing it by cutting a check to get COVID vaccines for all the players and all the people need to be around, cutting the line in front of everybody else.
That would be a horrid look. I don't think they want that either.
I don't think Adam Silver wants to pull that trigger. That's the doomsday clause.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. So, but basically, you and I talking here, here's the scenario that we basically concocted, is that at some point, if this gets worse, right, the owners and the players will find themselves playing chicken. And if they don't come up with something, we might be seeing a season cancellation as the worst case scenario.
I don't think the season cancel. If we saw literally,
I don't think it'll happen either.
No, because if we watch the NFL, Kyle, have an entire team. What was it? 20 members of the Titans literally had COVID for 2 weeks. The NFL made it work. It wasn't pretty. We saw multiple teams get their schedule changed, but not one game was canceled.
Right, but here's what's different. The NFL, their schedules weekly, each team are basically regimented, right?
Major League Baseball did it.
Major League Baseball failed a lot. I don't want to hear Major League Baseball did it.
But Kyle, listen. But even though it basically it crashed, the car did cross the finish line. It ain't look pretty when it was over with.
I was about to say, yeah, it crossed the finish line, but it sure as hell didn't win the damn race, right? And
you're right,
you know, there would be guys who wouldn't take the vaccine either. Well, guess what? They sitting on their butts if that card is pulled.
Exactly, Cortland. The thing is, here's the thing. I don't think there'll be a player strike because here's the thing. There'll be guys sitting out the same way there were guys that didn't want to go Orlando for the bubble. If COVID vaccine tests were to be given, there'll be guys that don't want to take it. I believe you. And there'll be guys missing checks too. It comes down to the wonderful point of they've exhausted every idea. And Silver had to pull the doomsday trigger. He can go pull the checks, and people say, well, it's government mandated. Haven't we learned the federal government takes money? Money talks.
I don't think Silver is prepared for that kind of a backlash, though. I don't think the players want it to happen either.
I think that's the last resort.
It is, but I don't think it even comes to that. Like, if I don't think the owners want that bad PR on them, don't put that evil on me, you know. And by the same token, for all the social justice movement that the players have made in and of themselves, they don't want to damage that credibility either. So neither side really wants that nuclear option, as you put it, to be dropped.
Nope. But they better figure it out because the more games they keep losing, the more games got to reschedule at the end.
I mean, yes, we continuing coverage on this one for certain.
Speaking of things that are continuing, the NHL has just started their season. Yay! Yay for hockey. The defending champion Tampa Bay Lightning started their season at home last night against the Chicago Blackhawks with a nice victory. I think it was a 4-1 victory at home. Hockey's back. 5-1, excuse me. Go hockey. Because hockey's the one that started late. Okay? Hockey's the one that shows up knowing exactly what's going on. They have watched all the foolishness and all the Canadian teams can't leave the border. That's all I'm saying. Hockey normally somehow wins all this. And we'll see we'll see how this works. But the NHL's back. It's great to see the NHL. You know, some guys are out due to injuries, due to COVID. It happens in the sport. But it's great to see that we have now all 4 professional sports actually restarting their regular season. So it's good to see.
Hey, I'll say this really quick, Danny. The reason why it works in the NHL is the adjective diva or noun diva is not often applied to NHL players. That's all I'm saying.
Speaking of divas, Kyle, the NFL just brought a diva back into the fold. A guy that's never coached an NFL game got, I think, arguably the best job possible in the NFL offseason.
Oh, boy. Well, you and I can have that conversation again. That's ridiculous to make that statement, in my opinion.
Here's the reason why I say it's the best job in the offseason. Urban Meyer is now the new head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars, signing a deal today to take over the reins of the team, Kyle, that has not only the number 1 pick in the draft, that has 11 draft picks in the draft, almost $100 million in cap space, and room to do what you need to do. And Kyle, what makes it worse is the Jaguars have $100 million in a year that has a shrinking cap, and they basically, with the exception of the New York Jets, can obliterate anybody when it comes to offering players. This is a buyer's market, and guess what? The Jaguars have the most monopoly money right now. They could be dropping dimes. They could be dropping dollars like James Harden at a strip club.
Chicken wings.
I mean, they're going to drop it like they're going to drop money everywhere, and Urban Meyer is going to be the one leading this. Now, we have seen college coaches go bad in the NFL, and we've seen college coaches go good in the NFL. Kyle, which way do you lean with Urban Meyer? You're a college football guy. Do you think this is going to work, or you think this is going to be Urban Meyer out before this is all said and done?
You know, I'll get one thing out of the way. One could argue the relationship with the media doesn't matter. It absolutely does. Because if the media hates you, they will do what they can to expose what you're doing wrong all that much quicker. Jacksonville not being a very big media market, but also having ties to success in the general region in his professional past. One might realize that Jacksonville is Southern Georgia, a.k.a. North Florida, just like Gainesville is. Then you could see that tie there too. Maybe there's hope that he has a little bit of consideration there, and it's a smaller media market, so he can basically do a little bit better job of dictating what's going on there. Next, his ability to find talent will be helpful, I think. Okay, now what it's going to come down to is his ability to mesh with grown men instead of players. And this is the part that's interesting to me is in all honesty, with what I do know, it's hard for me to make of it this. Here's the difference. I don't necessarily feel like Urban Meyer is going to be, let's say, like a Nick Saban type or a Steve Spurrier type in the NFL. They were big men on campus, and they were basically coming fresh out of being big men on campus. I mean, hell, the old ball coach is practically trademarked by Steve Spurrier, okay? And then Nick Saban's Nick effing Saban. Next question, right? Urban Meyer's different. He's had time to be a bit more corporate, right? He goes to a place, I need to spend more time with my family, and he disappears. He's not really drawn a long-standing legacy anywhere. And that leads to me, since he appreciates and understands transition, he's in the right state of mind to treat these grown men, not students, that are players, with that same sort of understanding of, listen, they're going to be going for the best deal. They're going to want time with their families, whether they mean it or not. So they're going to come to me for that sometimes. He might have the right mindset to do the job better than a lot of other college coaches we've seen. Off the top of my head, the best recent example would be Pete Carroll, and well, that ain't exactly recent at this point in time. But I'll put it this way. He's got a better shot than a lot of other guys, like people talking about Lincoln Riley, for example, being an NFL prospect. I don't think that's a fit. Urban Meyer is interesting. I think due to his time moving around, his time in the booth, the guy's basically, the only thing I'm concerned about if I'm Shad Khan in hiring him is that he's doing it to check something off the list rather than trying to actually build a program and a legacy. He's already got one. He's going to be in Atlanta, Georgia, in the College Football Hall of Fame at some point. At that level, he has nothing else to prove. I think he's just checking a box and possibly dipping his toe in. Because the problem being in Jacksonville, it's great that you got all this stuff that you got with all the picks with all the picks basically and the cap space. But at day's end, that's not going to get everything the Jaguars need. And by the way, the Titans, who as far as the AFC South is concerned, does not necessarily show signs of diminishing. Sure, they can't play defense, but they got a team that's pretty tough. And the Colts look pretty darn sharp. You expect me to believe that Urban Meyer's going to have them up and running to compete and or surpass both teams in 1 or 2 years? That's a tough sell for me.
I think depending on what Jacksonville does in free agency, I think the one question I have, and what people have asked is, so if Urban Meyer is going to Jacksonville, he's going to take Justin Fields. Urban Meyer has no loyalty to Justin Fields at any point in time. He didn't coach Justin Fields. Don't make the Ohio State connection, because if that's the case, then they're going to trade for Kyle. They're going to draft Kyle Pitts or even Kyle Trask they're going to take Kyle Pitts with the first overall pick and get Kyle Trask in the second round. I'm just saying, if you want to go with connections that he had.
They're going to draft Felipe Franks. Woo!
Jaguar fans will burn it down, all right? They're going to have Blake Bortles come back first. All I'm saying is this. There's no way on earth that Urban Meyer passes up Trevor Lawrence in the draft unless they get Deshaun Watson.
And really, put it in the comments if you can. What is the benefit of taking Justin Fields? There isn't one that I know about. So please, comments, light up. Bobby.
Listen, the only way that they don't take Trevor Lawrence is they trade for Deshaun Watson. That's the only way you don't take Trevor Lawrence.
I'm not counting that. That would actually be very interesting, but I don't know that that's going to happen.
But I'm saying that's the only way I can only see Jacksonville not taking Trevor Lawrence. You don't trade down. You don't trade. You're not adding draft picks when you got 11 of them. All right.
I'm with you. I'm glad you said it for the studio audience, because I know that ish. So
Kyle, before we move on to other topics, I did see something on Pro Football Talk today. One of their NFL experts did a mock draft today.
Christ, why? Go ahead.
Because here's the thing. Because as a guy with ties and relations with the Miami Dolphins, this is very interesting, and the San Francisco 49ers is interesting. The mock draft had the Miami Dolphins taking Justin Fields with the 3rd overall pick in the draft and trading Tua Tagovailoa to the San Francisco 49ers for the 12th overall pick.
That's interesting. I think it's ridiculous, but it's interesting.
And then the Dolphins at 12 would take Micah Parsons from Penn State, the linebacker.
You're assuming he'll still be there. That's adorable.
Well, this is what Pro Football Talk said today in their latest
Pro
contract.
Football Talk sucks. Next question.
All right. Well, let's ask you, Kyle. So what are your thoughts about that?
Now, you cornered me on this. I had to get you off the beaten path, okay?
I'm just asking, Kyle, because he's just very interesting.
Yeah. Well, hey, you know what? I mean, people advising me to lick a battery is interesting too. That doesn't mean I'm going to think the ish is a good idea. Okay, I'm saying
this was the same mock draft that had the Falcons taking Jamar Chase with the 4th overall pick.
Well, I'm sure you loved that.
I'm sure I hated that. Because if I see the Falcons take one more wide receiver in the first round, I think it might.
See. That's what we call in the business a setup.
Yeah, I mean the Falcons had Jamar Chase. I'm like, for what? They said the Falcons look at the quarterback in the future. They take the best player on the board. No, you don't. You don't take another wide receiver. The hell you say? No way. All right, Kyle. NFL playoff talk. Let's talk about the playoffs. We kind of went down and broke it down last week, but it's prediction time.
Yes, sir.
We got 4 games on the schedule. Let's get the predictions out the way. Let's start with, all right, let's start with the NFC. Mm-hmm. The top overall seed, Green Bay Packers, are the only team to have the bye, and they get Aaron Donald and the good old Los Angeles Rams, who will have Jared Goff in the lineup, and they went out and made sure Blake Bortles is the backup because John Walker is now out. All right. God. Yeah. It's supposed to be cold. It's supposed to be nasty. And Jared Goff has a bad thumb going into Green Bay against Aaron Rodgers in offense. Here's the question. Kyle, does Aaron Donald have, and Little Floyd and Jalen Ramsey on defense have one more rabbit in their hat to defeat the best team in the AFC?
I'll put it this way. When it comes to me, Aaron Donald is going to be Aaron bleeping Donald. But here's the thing. Aaron Charles Rodgers has had a long time in his career facing off another relentless defensive tackle. Perhaps you remember the name Ndamukong Suh, right? Mm-hmm. And this is somebody that he coped with and was able to still perform pretty well. Now, Aaron Donald is arguably better than Ndamukong Suh, and not arguably he is, and he's not a dirty player, so there's that too. But the punchline being this, partner, the one thing the Lions never had was an accompanying big name defensive back at the same time in our good friend Jalen Ramsey, right? So with that particular setup, I'm less worried about Aaron Charles Rodgers and more about what the rest of the receiving core is going to do. Because Devontae Adams, he's good, but I'm not expecting him to break things open. And on the ground, the Packers will probably be the Packers and have Aaron Charles Rodgers be their most prolific rusher. They're going to get theirs, but they're not going to be the offense that you expect the Packers to be. Here's what I find very interesting and compelling. This time last year, except maybe a couple weeks later, there was another team that came in and beat them with the quarterback throwing the ball precisely 6 expletive-deleted times. This time last year, you were in studio talking trash on this said quarterback, and he ended up doing his part to get his team to the Super Bowl and winning the first 3.5 quarters of it. Now, I'm not trying to tell you that Blake Bortles is as good as Jimmy Garoppolo or that Jared Goff with a messed up thumb is as good as Jimmy Garoppolo. I don't think they are. But at the end of the day, running the ball on the ground is something that the Rams did pretty doggone well against a team that probably assumed it was coming. And it didn't matter. Now, I'm not here to tell you that I think the Rams are going to win. I'm just telling you, don't bet the Packers on the spread. It's going to be a close one. I still got the Pack because at the end of the day, I'm just not brave enough to bet against Aaron Charles Rodgers.
You forgot about a guy, another Aaron in the roster, not Aaron Rodgers, but Aaron Jones. I think Aaron Jones is the X factor of this game. I think Aaron Jones gets somehow lost in the shuffle with the Aarons and the offensive talent of the team, as you see what Cortland says in the chat. I think Aaron Jones is
just giving Danny something to talk about, for Christ's sake. I'm the co-host, Cortland. I can't hog it all. Jesus.
No, but I think Aaron Jones is different. You made a great point. Jalen Ramsey is going to do a job on Devontae Adams. It's going to be that, and that's probably arguably the best matchup of the whole weekend. Literally any game. Watching 2 All-Pros go at it all weekend is going to be something phenomenal. Almost even better than watching Lattimore and Mike Evans in the Tampa game. the Tampa Saints game. It's going to come down to who's going to make a play. Is it Montez Valdes-Scantling? Is it Alan Lazard? Is it somebody on that receiving core that the Packers can use to get down the field? I think this is an Aaron Jones game. And you're right. As good as the Rams defense is, I don't know if the Rams have enough of an offense to score with the Packers. I like the Packers by double digits at home. I really did.
My man, Cortland. I respect that response, brother.
I think the Packers win by double digits. And I think Aaron Jones is the guy at the end of the game that's going to be the statement guy. All right, we'll start the other NFC game. You have what you call is the battle of the old quarterbacks. Brady, Breeze, and the History Channel special of the week.
Like, seriously, you're in trouble when the thing that makes the most news about the hype of this game is the plagiarism of the History Channel joke going all crazy on Twitter, right?
Exactly. So at the end of the day, Drew Brees and Tom Brady are arguably going in as first ballot unanimous Hall of Famers. It is what it is. The difference is in this game, I'm not sure how much Drew Brees has left in the tank. Mm. He's going against Tom Brady, and Brady has a lot to prove in the playoffs. And here's the thing. The Buccaneers have the most dangerous offense around Tom Brady that Brady's ever seen, and the most talent. Even better than the talent that went 15-1 because it was really relying on Randy Moss.
I can see why you're saying that, but
it's the weapons. It's the number of weapons he has.
We'll put that conversation another day because it's a good one.
Okay, and the Saints are at home. We saw what they did in the Nickelodeon game last week, getting into the slime zone. Still the best broadcast I've ever seen, by the way. All right. Nickelodeon is not going to help them. What is going to help is the fact that Marcus Lattimore
and get a forward pass, go their way to do it themselves. I'm making fun of you, Cortland. I'm just kidding. I'm just saying. But Alvin Kamara is the key here. I said it, and it's not just in the run game. He's actually going to be important in the check down for the pass too, because the focus is going to be on Emmanuel Sanders, Traquan Smith, all that down the field. Kamara could do some damage underneath.
So who you got, Kyle?
I forgot to mention that part. I'm going to pick the Saints, but I could very easily have this one wrong. I'm not saying it won't be a close game. I'm not saying that it'll be fun to watch. I'll put it that way. I'm not expecting a shootout for the very reason I mentioned that the Saints are going to slow the tempo.
All right, games to start on Saturday night, Buffalo and the Baltimore Ravens. Listen, a game that we saw last week, the Buffalo Bills finally broke the curse of winning a playoff game was 25 years, and they won at home. They were breaking tables, eating buffalo wings, and it was a beautiful night in Buffalo. See? Buffalo. All right, now in the battle of guys that are two of the most mobile quarterbacks in the NFL that can pretty much dominate a game with their arms and their legs, Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen would go to battle in a game where we watched what Josh Allen did last week against the Colts with running and passing, but the Colts defense isn't the Ravens defense either. The Ravens went down, and not only did they shut down Derrick Henry, they embarrassed Derrick Henry 1 week after getting his 2,000 yards in a game where I think he's still running. He was running like Bo Jackson on Tecmo Bowl in the last week of the season to get 2,000, and they started hitting him like it was hit stick, calling the right plays on Tecmo Bowl. Kyle, the Lamar Jackson finally got off the playoff losing streak.
Yeah, thank you. Right.
And he won a playoff game. Mm-hmm. But question is, Kyle, can you win 2 games in a row? I'll let you go first.
I think he can, but I don't think the Bills team is the one that's going to allow him to do it. These teams are very close to each other in their makeup and their build, except for one very important concept. That receiver core in Buffalo is something special. Okay. I've been over it before that you could probably date back 20 years and still not find a better core. I know Cole Beasley is a mere shadow of his former self, but listen, John Brown is back on the field. That's a big damn deal. And oh, by the way, this kid Gabe Davis is making clutch catches. And no, just because I cover UCF doesn't mean I'm a homer. Everybody, you should have seen the gush fest that was the Good Morning NFL show or whatever the hell they call it. With these guys, I'm the president of the Gabe Davis fan club. Fool. Listen, I'm not the president of a fan club. I clever him. But what he did was no surprise to me. He's had toe drag swag for the past 4 years. You just weren't paying no damn attention to it. All of the above being said, Buffalo sets up the run with the pass. They do it the opposite of conventional wisdom. And that might be about the only thing that fools John Harbaugh is going against conventional wisdom. I'm not telling you it's going to be a runaway. Matter of fact, I would guarantee you should probably take the under in this game. But at the end of the day, you could talk about Josh Allen winning the game all you want. It's going to be Stephon Diggs that creates the big plays for that to happen.
So, Kyle, who you got?
I got the Bills.
All right, so here's the thing. The Baltimore Ravens, Lamar Jackson have something to prove. I'm still worried about the receiving core, even though Hollywood Brown got 100 yards last week against Torrey Jackson, because Torrey Jackson's not very good. Mark Andrews is still going to be a threat in the passing game. But what Lamar Jackson did last week against the Colts is that, against the Titans, is that he used his feet to dominate the game on the ground, which set up the pass. On the side on the air of the Buffalo Bills, hey, they're at home. Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs, like you said, are a dynamic duo. Gabe Davis had a huge game last week with 85 receiving yards. The only thing I don't like about the Bills is that the Bills don't have a running game. And in a game like this, you're going to need to keep Lamar Jackson off the field. It is what it is. You only get to run with so much, but you're going to have to effectively run the ball. I trust the Ravens running group with Jackson, J.K. Dobbins, and Mark Ingram more than I trust the Buffalo running group with Josh Allen, Singletary, and whatever else they throw out there. I'm taking the Ravens on the road. But Kyle, I think this is the best game of the weekend, though.
Yeah, there's one thing you have way off center, though. While I believe your concept of keeping the Bills off the field is a great idea, if they're in a position to where Lamar Jackson has to play from behind, that game is over, and it's over quick. And it's not Lamar Jackson's fault. It's because they don't have big weapons.
No, but I think Baltimore, if they get ahead early, they're going to start seeing the running game happen, and then like I said, you're forcing Josh Allen to play into the hands of the Ravens on defense. I think the Ravens are the only team in the AFC defensively that can actually hold the other game we're about to talk about right now. And like I said, I got the Ravens in this one, setting up the matchup between, we're talking about the Cleveland Browns and the Kansas City Chiefs. I wrote about it on the 3pointconversion.com in the AFC preview section. So, Kyle, I already made my prediction this game. I'll give you a quick synopsis. You want my in-depth analysis, we'll just go onto the website. Here's the thing. But Cleveland needs to run the football. Cleveland has arguably the best offensive line on the right side of the NFL. Pro Football Focus has their starting right left tackles rated number 1 in the NFL. Okay, they've got to run the ball, and guess what? They have the best duo of running backs to run the ball in the playoffs with Chubb and Kareem Hunt. Kareem Hunt going against his former team, calling out saying this is a revenge game. Nah, buddy, you got yourself voted off the island for this one. This ain't no revenge here. Baker Mayfield's 2-11 in his career, Kyle. In a game, he has to throw over 38 times. 38 or more passing attempts. There's 2-11 in his career, 0-3 this season. In a game where he might have to throw often, this ain't the right team to do it. The Kansas City Chiefs, on their hand, are loaded everywhere. We know about the offense, but the defense is the real question. A 4-2-5 defense. If they can stack the box and stop Nick Chubb and force the Browns, who don't have an over-the-top threat, and I'm not scared of Rashard Higgins or Donovan Peoples-Jones, because Landry Fields is a possession receiver. He's not a guy that's going to break a game open over the top. The Kansas City Chiefs have the United States 4x100 receiving core, running 4x100 squad at receiving core.
Yeah, and running back, for the record.
Kansas City gets this game. They break it open. I have them winning by 2 touchdowns, 38-24. Kyle, who you got real quick?
Yeah, I mean, listen, obviously, if you're the Browns, you run the damn football. And if you haven't learned that yet, you have no business even coaching or watching football. The punchline being this. Patrick LaVon Mahomes II proves why he is the best player in the game and tears up the Browns defense. I don't know what more I can say that you haven't already. Next game.
All I can say is this. The Kansas City Chiefs, and they do this to every team, and Kyle, you watched last year in the Super Bowl, the Kansas City Chiefs, like the Golden State Warriors during their the first run with Curry and those guys, they get a run and they get a few touchdowns or a whole bunch of points in a few minutes. Most teams don't survive it. There's an onslaught. Ask the Houston Texans what happened in the AFC Championship game last year.
Yes.
That was at 21 or 24 points in 5 minutes.
I believe it was 21.
I think it was 3 touchdowns in 5 minutes.
I think they scored a field goal somewhere in there, too. We'll go with 21. It sounds better.
Okay, and then Kyle gets your 49ers, like you said, for 3.5 quarters. The 49ers defense, but Mahomes and company, they did it in the fourth quarter, and it was a quick blitz at one point.
He made one throw on 3rd and long.
And it broke
the game.
It broke the game open. And Tyreek Hill and those guys can break the game open. This game gets to be ugly because the Chiefs will get runs. And Kyle, you know what the scary part is? The Browns have allowed 19 touchdowns in the fourth quarter.
That's a lot.
They get 16 in the first. So basically what you're saying is you can't let the game off to a hot start. And if the game gets close, your defense can't hold water. All right. Normally we do Mount Rushmore tonight, but we kind of went over because I blame James Harden in his stomach for this. So Kyle, before we go, any shout outs?
Hey, listen, shout outs to all the people commenting in the box there. Ty, Cortland, all of the above. I'm sure I'm missing somebody. Precious, of course. And yeah, man, I'll tell you, as much as I'm getting sick of hearing about the Brooklyn Nets, it's good to talk about basketball again and the NHL's back up. Hey, listen, man, we're getting some sports normalcy up in this piece. Hi, Miss Apple. Danny?
Bobby, any shout outs before we go? I don't know if you're behind the booth tonight. All right. Well, big shout outs, of course, to Bobby up in New Jersey, Kyle down in Florida. Like you said, everybody in the chat, Cortland, Ty, Precious, my main man Alex, who I'll be joining in a few minutes in the post-game press conference for the Hornets, awesome. As well as everybody stopping through. And this little person beside me decided she wanted to say hi. So say hi, sweet pea.
Hi.
All right.
Yes, Bobby says hi, Apple. See? Now, ironically, too bad Rodney's not watching the show tonight because, unfortunately, this little person of mine got a Christmas gift from her grandparents. Apple, what are you wearing, sweet pea? What are you wearing?
I'm wearing this shirt under this undershirt.
Yes, but Jed, what team is it, sweet pea? Yes, my parents
they are zeros. Yes.
Yes, my daughter is in a Carolina Panthers pink jersey that she got for Christmas.
And he does not like it. Yes.
Check me out on Twitter. All right, sweet pea. Say goodbye.
Bye.
Thanks for checking in, special correspondent.
So yeah, special little person correspondent. All right, big shout out to everybody who stopped by the show tonight. Like I said, it's always been a pleasure to do it. Check me out on Haps TV for the Hornets post-game show in approximately 15 minutes once I get through the Hornets post-game show tonight because of the fact of the Hornets fell short on the nights of the Toronto Raptors, but I'll talk more about that as well too. Kyle and I'll be back on Monday night for the Martin Luther King edition of the show. And yes, hopefully we'll have basketball to talk about because that's one of the NBA's most prolific nights because of Martin Luther King. We'll talk about that on Monday. Also have a chance to talk about the NFL playoffs, break everything down. Also, it's a big shout out to everybody in the chat. We do appreciate you. And check out me and Kyle on the 3pointconversion.com. All the work. Cortland's on the site as well too. Big shout outs to the whole team and everybody else involved. So myself, Bobby up in New Jersey, Kyle, and my lovely little person, and she's not a Panthers fan, by the way. Cannot believe my father, traitor. I'm Danny Thompson. Like I said, check you guys on Monday, and like I said, check Haps TV in approximately 20 minutes. You guys have a wonderful night. Have a great weekend. Stay safe because COVID's not losing right now.
No, they are not.
You guys have a wonderful night. Later.